before we get started, there's some information about the process this evening. After a short introduction by myself, Maziar will read to us from his book Design and Democracy. Then you're welcome to ask any questions. Afterwards, we will be happy if you stay for a drink and continue the discussion with us later in the room next to this. So, what are we doing? The Public Positions is a lecture and discussion series of the Public Interest Design program at Bergische Universität Wuppertal. We invite speakers who take positions on society, the public sphere, and design to discuss with us an understanding of our tasks and responsibilities as public interest designers. This year's public positions take place for the 8th time. And now I want to invite you to the other events in this year. For the 7th of June, the 21st of June, and the 12th of July. More information on Instagram. The topic of this year's public position is Die bewegliche Gesellschaft, like in our exhibition in March, I guess. Yeah, and today we address the connections between design and democracy, like the title of your book. So maybe, please come. Okay, first I want to ask you some questions. So please tell us something about yourself.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming and thanks for your invitation. Yeah, I'm Maziar today, and I'm a designer and design researcher more. And now I'm doing my PhD in Habecker Braunschweig. So in the last years I'm working on design activism, design and democracy, social design. Now I'm working with Fraunhofer Institute in Oberhausen, and I'm working on social innovation and the new platforms, digital platforms. So I hope that's enough.
Yeah. Thank you. And now I would like to invite you to read out of your book to us.
Mikro, machst du nicht?
Yeah, maybe you
Sure.
should read this. And then we will see us later. Have fun.
Okay, so this book was published in 2021, and it's from Bird series, Board of International Research in Design. The story of the book is that I was met Michael Erhoff, my great teacher, my maestro, and a great friend. He was passed away 2021, 1st of May. Yeah, you couldn't see this book, unfortunately. Anyhow, I've met him on 18th of January of 2019. Yeah, and proposed this idea to me. Because before that we started to work on a book called Design and Activism, but by Tom Belling, contributing this book also. And I thought that that's a good idea that we do a collaborative book with different others. And with this idea, Design and Democracy, I thought that's new and we need this topic. But the difference between this book and other collaborative book actually is I invited the others. Personally, I know them, I read some of their works and invited one by one, and the minimum of editing happened on this book because we would like to save the writing styles. And I think you can find it on the book right now. So it was a great experience for me, especially when it was one of the last works of Michael Arov. So I had the chance to work with many great friends. Some of them are design scholars, such as Carl de Salvo, I don't know, Rami Almanza, Wolfgang Jonas, Laura Poplo, all of these great friends. And now I want to read part of my chapter. And then we can talk about it, because this is 12 chapters and 12 actually viewpoints to the concept, design and democracy. What's the relation? What's the concept of even democratic design? Or what's the relation of design and democracy? And a chapter by Michael Arov called Desocracy, a mix of design and democracy, and it's interesting. What I choose for this book, what I read for this book was a little bit different. I worked on social networks because I count, and still I think, we as a designers can talk and work on big problems, not small problems, just the small problems. And intervention is something important for us. And I want to read part of this chapter and talk about it more. The name of the chapter is Design Activism, Democracy, and the Crisis of Social Networks. I started with this sentence: nothing is so painful to the human mind as a great and sudden change. It's by Mary Shelley from Frankenstein. What we now call science fiction, and also what we know as the digital world, have miraculously crossed a passage under the influence of two living women in the 19th century, Mary Shelley and Ada Lovelace. What is interesting here is the relation between these two and the influence of a man on both of them, Lord Byron. Byron was an English poet and politician who became a revolutionary in the Greek War of Independence and is considered as one of the leading figures of the Romantic movement. He was the father of Ada Lovelace, a woman who was the first to recognize that the machine had applications beyond pure calculation, and published the first algorithm intended to be carried out by such a machine. As a result, she is widely regarded as one of the first computer programmers. At the same time, Byron was a close friend and companion of Mary Shelley, an English novelist who wrote the Gothic novel Frankenstein, or the Modern Prometheus, and the lover of Claire Clement, Mary's stepsister. Perhaps it was the impact of Byron's character, the mad, bad, and dangerous to know romantic poet, that somehow reinforces the features of digital technology and the sci-fi world, which are both amazing, dangerous, even romantic areas, and also crazy. The madness of technology in the last 3 countries, remember GPT these days, has always been one of the matters of humankind, and one of the big madness is technology possession by dictatorship powers that harm humans and mutilate the spirit of democracy. Social media, including social networks, obviously is one of the technological symbols that had been imagined could increase social participation, impact social and political issues, and deploy democracy in societies during past years. As a decade before, social networking and media sharing websites, in addition to the increasing prevalence of cellular telephone, have made citizen journalism or democratic journalism phenomenon more accessible to people worldwide. Notable examples of citizen journalism reporting through social networks from major world events are the Arab Spring, the Occupy Wall Street movement, the 2013 protests in Turkey, the Euromaidan events in Ukraine, the Syrian civil war, and the 2014 Ferguson unrest, but the controversial presidential election in Iran in 2009 was an impressive happening in this regard. Twitter played an important role during these election protests after foreign journalists had effectively been barred from reporting. Twitter delayed scheduled maintenance during the protests that could shut down coverage in Iran due to the role it played in public communication. Another example, 10 years later, which shows the influence of social media again in supporting democracy, was the use of Hong Kong protesters from social media like AirDrop and Telegram channels to share their demonstrations, posters, and announcements in 2019. The emergence of the citizen journalism phenomenon is a case which shows the power and ability of the social network and its impacts on social and political changes in the world. But the social network's coin has the other side too. This part called social networks from Kirstein's monster. Technology alone can't save democracy. When technology is designed and used well, it can make it easier for people to participate in elections and other activities of civic life. But when it's not, technology that promises to help ends up being harmful. Social networks as a technology and the relation to democracy have been under the magnifier recently. But here, one of the main questions is whether this virtual world is really democratic and why these digital products were designed in this world. The fact is, when Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg and his classmates at Harvard launched Facebook, for example, they wouldn't have imagined the next years of this new platform and dimensions of violence, ethical challenges, its impacts on people's lives and businesses, and also democracy. This is true about other entrepreneurs, developers, and technology leaders too. Zuckerberg and his friends have just targeted the lack of emotions in 21st century life and the deepness of human connections. As humanity means somewhere there are human relations and they may, there are human relations and they meant this virtual location. Thus, the social network was an answer to the need, but almost nobody had an estimation of the future problems that social networks could make for people. However, what is meant by social network problems here? Recently, Facebook, Google, and Twitter, among others, have all been subjected to intense scrutiny because of the negative externalities that their services create. The focus of concern has been the abuse of social media channels as part of the efforts to influence the outcome of major political events, including the June 2016 Brexit referendum in the United Kingdom and the US presidential election later that year. In both cases, studies show nation-states and non-state actors exploited, abused social media as a tool of their information operations and So that in 2017, political scientist Thomas Reed wrote that Twitter has become a threat to open and liberal democracy. Hence, growing numbers of people are coming to believe that social media have too much influence on important social and political conversations, and naturally it makes concerns about social networks based on these recent happenings. For instance, according to New York Times investigation, Facebook has data sharing deal with at least 60 devices makers, including Amazon, Apple, BlackBerry, Microsoft, and Samsung. After installing an application from one of them, this app was able to gain access to unique identifiers and also personal information of hundreds of his Facebook friends and close to 300,000 online friends of friends. Moreover, in research in 2014, Pew Internet discovered that apps can seek up to 235 different kinds of permissions from Android smartphones users, with the average app asking for 5. Accordingly, it seems social networks, social media, and our cell phones are changed to professional spy instruments that not only can find our location, our contacts, notes, comments, personal information, and even family photos, but also have access to our mind and thoughts. It can estimate based on our Google searches and our clicks, or even a pause in a second on an image, what are our current ideas, what are our favorites, and what will be our future needs. Also, it can choose the photos, the advertisements, and the videos that we have to see and guide us to vote for its favorite candidate in the next election if it wants. It means that these new big systems are bigger than the KGB or CIA or other spy organizations in the world and can abuse people in every form they need. Now, this volume of capabilities, more than ever, especially after the coronavirus crisis and the government's use of social networks and applications to crisis management, is available to populist politicians, and it is felt that it will later become a pervasive threat to democracy. Overall, if you want to summarize some of the most important harms of social networks, especially with emphasis on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, as 3 of the most popular social networks, without priority, we can mention these titles in 2 groups. I don't want to read the details, just I want to read the headlines. The crisis that harms democracy and human rights. Data privacy and digital human rights. Fake accounts. False information and authoritarian inclinations. And the second group, the crises that harm people or users. Making money through social networks. Producing the violence. Addictive machines. And creation of irrelevance case in societies. Let me explain it. Yuval Noah Harari, the Israeli historian, believes that the progress of technology, especially in AI and biotechnology, in 2050 we will encounter people who have many things to do, but they are useless and inefficient. It is true about social networks also, as these people will do many things in the social network but generate nothing, and what they do will have no value. Why? It takes many hours. Digital social networking is one of the most important things that this irrelevance case has to do. Solving the social and economical problems of these people is one of the next year's challenges related to social networks. So, but a change through design, or why we have this chapter in this book. Obviously, social network as technology would be a great source at the service of democracy if the mentioned crisis it can be solved. Your design can be a fantastic tool to help in this regard. Herbert Simon has started that design is always about courses of action aimed at changing existing situations into preferred ones. The ability of change is still the most important duty that design can do for societies and users from a point of view. Therefore, problem solving as the biggest imaginable claim for design is a way to change toward a preferred situation. Now, the social network needs to change, but how about democracy? In March 2017, Edsel Maziar and Victor Margolin, 2 design thinkers, in an open letter to the design community, asked them to take action and respond to the crisis that democracy is undergoing. They said, we designers are in difficult and dangerous times. For many years, believed in a world that, despite its problems, was nevertheless committed to principles of democracy in which human rights, fundamental freedoms, and opportunities for personal development were increasing. Today, this picture has changed profoundly. There are attacks on democracy in several countries, including those where democracy seems to be unshakable. They asked the design community to take action because normal ways of designing were not enough, and the role of designer in confronting the lack of democracy in the world needed to be changed. In truth, it was an invitation to designers for intervention in changing to improve democracy and its tools. Although considering social issues in design is not a new phenomenon, as footmark of waves of social consciousness through design history can be found from the arts and crafts movements in the 19th century to Bauhaus and after the Ulm school up to now. But intervention in big systems such as social networks and talk about design and democracy relation needs to a new disposition in design. This new disposition is about awareness of existing power relationship and at the same time confidence regarding new skills and capabilities in design. From this point of view, today, design activism is the same new tendency for designers, I can say. An activist designer is a designer who observes, analyzes, and then does an act by its design. Activist design is more sensitive to its surroundings, especially an act by its design. Activist design is more sensitive, especially to social issues that affect society and things fundamentally and out of the box. Yeah. One more time. Activist design is more sensitive to its surroundings, especially to social issues that affect society and things fundamentally and out of the box. In design activism, what is most important in questioning and criticism, deep observation and making change for people, not just being a cog in the capitalism machine. In design activism, there is no method that is recommended, and all methods are just instruments to do any positive change, even a small one. Your design and activism are two hands joined together, but there is a point. The river started from design and falls into activism. Therefore, I believe just being activists cannot be enough because we, designers, can't be more active than activists. We, as designers, should think deeply and design correct. This correctness is not only about form and function, but also is about consideration of user needs and the moral consequences of our design, and then can use the help of people or activists to implement our ideas, or vice versa, our ability to implement people's ideas. In this regard, the social network is a great challenge for activist designers as a big project with different aspects of system design, strategy, behavioral design, customer experience, and so on. However, it's clear that running a new platform as a new player in social networks contest is not so easy. It's a big production and now can't be an ordinary platform, especially when a platform in the presence of other players like Facebook and Twitter make claims about safety, high security, and being democratic, which looks like grand gambling. Also, we know social networks today are not only a website on the internet, but also a political and security matter. But really, if social networks are going to change based on what has been said, what will these changes be? So, in the remainder of this chapter, actually, I proposed an idea, and I'm talking about design by value. Actually, I tried to design a value and proposed a social network based on designing a value. But I think that's enough for now, and we can stop on design and talk about design more.
Yeah, thank you at this point. Okay, thank you. I think this was very exciting. everybody of us, everybody who's studying public interest design in here could see a lot of things in the text, which is very interesting for us, I guess. Yeah. Now at this point, I want to ask you if there are any questions to Maziar. Okay, maybe I could start with one.
Sure.
You talked about the activism of designers and being active or doing an act with your designer in design. And my question is, how can citizens who normally get passively involved by the design can actively involve in the process of democratic design?
Yeah, okay. So good question, but it's will take us to somewhere else, I think. I believe personally that everyone is designer. Some of us know that we are designer and some of us don't know about it. Sorry, just a minute. If I hang my coat from this chair, for example, so it's a normal action. But you know, it's a kind of design. No chair in the world is designed for hanging a coat. Chair is something for sitting, not more. But we have a bunch of activities in our life that are design actions. So, but we are ordinary people. The difference between designer and non-designer here is the designer could find these actions, could understand them, could actually discover them, and use and implement them actually in their in its design. So about the citizen, yeah, I think we are designer, all of us. But what was your question?
How they can be actively involved in the process of democratic design.
Good. These days I'm working on another phenomenon that is related to what we have to talk about it today. I actually made a term and I called it design by act. What you sell, for example, hanging a coat here, it's designed by use because we use from this chair. If I put, I don't know, pen and pencil in this glass and use it on my table when I work, yeah, this is designed by use. And we can over a bunch of these actions. But about the people and about the citizen and related to democratic actions. Now in the world, we have a bunch of social and political movements in different formats. And it's happened by ordinary people. These people, just for sending their messages, use these design actions as a tool. And it's completely democratic. What's the meaning of democracy? If we share actually something between others, it can be kind of democracy. If we can share an idea between people, and we can share, the possibilities between people. Yeah, it's a democratic action. Let me bring you an example. In Iran, before this session, we talked with Shima about Iran events. What's happening last year in Iran. It started from an idea that defeating compulsory hijab. You heard about it probably. But it's back to 2017 and gradually expanded up to now. In that time, we had some boxes, utility boxes in the streets for electric stuff or something. And one day, a girl go up from this street boxes and hanging a scarf, a white scarf, on a part of wood with no word and just move it. So actually it was kind of movement, and it was kind of, it was such a theater, and she had a message for society, for people, for government, for everyone. After a while, government started to actually adding a pyramid metal on these boxes. A pyramid added to these boxes for prevent people to stand on these boxes. And after a while, something interesting happened. These women actually designed a wooden stool who could put it on these pyramids and stand on it again. So all of these actions from the government, from the power, and from the people, both were designed. All of these actions are design actions. At the same time, something happened. It was kind of a dialogue between people and power, and the messages they sent and they received. So, in two formats, I can answer to your questions. First, sharing design between everyone, and second, using design as an instrument, as a help. In last decades, in last century, design was something just in Western countries. Design just was BMW, just Mercedes-Benz, I don't know, Toyota, all of these brands. But I think now we need something else. We need have design such as cinema. We have independent movies, even in small countries, and we have Hollywood and Bollywood and $1 million productions. So why we don't have design everywhere in different formats? And this is another point. So we need another viewpoint to design, and we need design everywhere. So I think now, after 1 century, we need to have a definition of design. We need all these types of design. We need all of these companies, and also we need design for people in different formats. And I don't know, in social design, and with this idea that everyone can know design and can use design as something that can make change for people and for life.
Thanks. I think it's very inspiring. It's a point of view which I didn't thought about, but I think in the direction we talked a lot about this, and I don't know, are there some other questions? Yeah.
When you say we need a new definition of design, have you ever tried writing that definition? Do you think it's something that we can put in words, because there are attempts on the public interest design definition, and it's going to be 3 books soon?
Actually, I said definition, but defining something is not so logical. Look, describing is a better word. We need a new point of view to design. The definition, actually, definition from listening. We need a new describing. We can't never say, I think, that design, is this word. No, design for me probably is different from. This is a problem of design. At the same time, it's the good point that it's not solid. So it's a good point. But I think we need these new points. Why, for example, 20 years ago, product design completely back to something that was physical. But now, product design is something else. We call digital design, but we have to say digital design, but we say product design. So we need a new viewpoint. Or for example, we say communication design. Okay, when we say communication design, okay, that's digital, blah blah blah. Okay, but there is a communication between me as a user and this chair also. This table also. It's a kind of communication. So I think we need some philosophy in these words and in these definitions. We have to sometimes break these frames to find new solutions. I think that the last definitions and the last thinkings about design can't work for next years or for the new era. It's back to last century. So for the new century, we need a new idea. Both are design, but everything has changed. People is changed. Lifestyle is changed, and normally design will change also.
Okay, thank you. If you say design is changing also, I have to think about your sentence that everybody is a designer or can be a designer. So if we are designers, we study design some way, what is the point, or is the point of action? What is the difference between us and everybody else, or what do you say would be exactly the difference?
Yeah, okay. So regarding your question, no, my next book will be about actor design, so not about the definition, but it's about this new viewpoint, as I said. Yeah, this is a good question. So we are actually educated for design. This is the difference between a professional designer and non-designer who do design acts. This is the difference. That we are aware of what we are doing. But non-designer actually don't think about it. We are human, and just the creation, just the movement, not more than that. Nobody thought about hanging a coat from a chair. That's normal. Look at your life, look at around you. We have a bunch of these actions. In every hour, we are designing something. We are solving a problem. We are finding a new solution. Of course, design is not just finding the solutions. This is what I have to mention here. Because sometimes, I think, for now, sometimes finding problems can be kind of design. We need design as a discourse also. This is something that we don't have before. We didn't have before in the last century. Design as a discourse, as kind of discourse. Yeah. I don't know if I could answer you or not.
Maybe I have another question. Yeah. Okay, you talked about the awareness. So people who are designers but aren't aware about their action. So we could be the ones who made them aware for their actions, or aware for actions they could do to do something new in their life. So this is like the point.
Let me add something. So we have a bunch of instruments as designers. We are graphic designers, I don't know, UX designers, UI designers in different areas. So we have also the instrument. But if you scratch the concept of design, if you shade it, so what can be design? Design can be decision making. I had an interview and I tried to explain. We have a word in Arabic, the design, we say design all over the world, but in each language we have some words for design. In Arabic we have a word called tasmim. We have it in Persian also. Tasmim means decision making, make a decision. And designer is musamman, is the person who make a decision. So if we scratch the design, so what's the brain of design? It's decision making. Okay, choosing a project, choosing a problem. Okay, at the same time, intervention. I think we need some concepts to find what is exactly design. This is the philosophy of design. But obviously, if we can analyze the philosophy of this glass, then I can design a new glass. Obviously, I need two different instruments, hand sketching or the software or everything. But first, you need an idea. First, you need the thinking. And this is the point that the lack of this point in last years, I think.
There was a question.
I have to contradict a little bit, but I think probably you mean some things different than I understand them, and that's the reason I want to, I don't know if it's going to become a question, but at least say something. I have real difficulties about saying everyone is a designer, because everyone who puts orange juice and gin together is a chemist. Everyone who talks on the stage is an actor, performer. So whatever you do, action is something we do. We change things by just life. And from whatever perspective you look at it, you can say it's design, it's chemistry, it's acting, from this point of specific view. And if we, as a program at the university, to me it's important to kind of have a concept of that what we are talking about. And the concept means, in German, Begriff, I don't know what the English word is to have kind of barriers. So we know what we're talking about. These barriers can vary, they can become open, they can close, but it's kind of, if we talk about design, we have something we know at least could be something, but not everyone is a designer, because then everything becomes totally nothing.
Yes. So, thanks for the point. But everyone can design.
Yeah.
Everyone can design. Yeah, with this definition, everyone can design. I said the difference is we are aware of what we are doing. We are educated for that. But non-designer just do design actions. They are not aware that, oh, I'm a designer. No, just I'm hanging a coat on the chair. It's nothing. This is a difference. But I think it's not a negative point for design. I think it's the power of design. That everyone can enter to design, but you can be a professional chemist or a professional engineer probably. This is the power of design, I think. So probably we need. I don't call these people as a designer, that they are non-designer or citizen designer. I think we have to mention this. But professional designer is a person who has actually he's a great observer, who could find the problems, the points. At the same time, if you find a problem and if you could solve a problem, it's a kind of design action. It's kind of design action. But who could find this? Designers, I think. You as a designer can say, so what's the difference between this bottle and that bottle? This is your eyes, that's your observation. Can analyze this form. Can say this, we can look at this bottle at different aspects. And so what's the ergonomy, what's the color, what's the form, Gestalt in Dutch, and all of this. So I'm not a designer, I don't know, that's just a bottle, but I like it. It's beautiful, that's it.
But problem solving, a lot of people can do problem solving. People working with math, people inventing machines, engineers. I mean, are they all designers in your definition, or what makes the difference of the kind of design we are making?
They are not designers, but they do sometimes design action. If we can analyze problem solving as a design action, for many years, design introduced or defined as something could help you to solve your problems. This is one of the points. You're right. I said, but at the same time, I criticized this concept. So we are not just problem solvers. So who defined the problem? So what's the problems? I don't know. Politicians, philosophers, engineers. Who said we have this problem? Okay, I hire you as a designer and help me to solve this problem. This is the point. I think we can find the problems ourselves. This is actually you do in public interest or many new design areas. I said design as a discourse. So when you start a discourse, when you start a dialogue, so you have an idea. First you have an idea. If you had an idea, it's a little bit different. You ask questions. Actually, you criticize phenomena around you, and you say, okay, why? Let me explain like this. When I said decision making at the core of design, so there was a choose. I choose this idea. I choose this problem. I choose this project. Why I choose this project? For me, it's more important than that one. So there are different reasons. Just not economy. Economy also, we have economy everywhere, but that's not just economy. Personally, I choose this project because my background, because my interest, because my needs, because I like this idea. But for example, why I choose design and democracy? I can be interior designer, car designer, industrial designer. I was. But I thought that we need this idea because I came from a country that's we are encountered with this problem, we encountered with this material, and that's important. And I found, that's at the same time it's important for everywhere in the world, but we are at the different stages. So I think there are many reasons that someone choose a project. And these projects makes these choosing and these ideas makes this priority. Which project is more important than another one?
There is another question.
I was just wondering, because you just said that you got into the topic because of your personal backstory. Is there any way that you think designers can get more involved or or generally becoming more socially responsible? Is there any way that the topic can be broadened? Because if everyone is a designer, maybe not everyone sees the social issues, and maybe the topic of democracy is not on the forefront of everyone's mind. So do you have an idea how designers can get more involved in solution finding process without having a personal backstory to this?
No, just was an example, not just because of my background.
I'm just saying that was your reason for this, but is there a way to
one of the reasons, because my background for this project was important, but that's not the one reason for choosing a project. So for all of us as a designer, we have many reasons for choosing a project. The most important part actually is economy. We usually, as a designer, we are hired. We are not entrepreneurs. So, but probably we will encounter with a new concept in design area, designer entrepreneurs. We have some examples, but the designers who should start a startup, who should start an idea, should start a business. Why? Because I could find a problem. Nobody hired me for this problem. I found my problem. So probably that's your problem also. The society's problem also. That's my experience. That was just just for instance. But that's my experience. I taught for many years about design and democracy, but I found that Victor Margolin, and Maziar are talking about democracy and the relation of design and democracy. Why? Because in that year, it's back to 6 years ago. Donald Trump was in US. Marine Le Pen was in France, and in all of the world, we could find some people who actually probably the democracy was at the tree. So that's not just mine. That's all of us. But I try to explain. That's my experience. That's it. Not more.
Do you reckon there has to be a threat to democracy in order for people to realize that design has some sort of influence and vice versa?
Excuse me?
Does there have to be a threat to democracy for designers to realize that they have some sort of social responsibility and vice versa? Or
actually, the open letter was written, and you heard about it probably, in 2017. It was an open letter to design community.
Okay.
They wrote this letter that, okay, you are a designer, but now we are a part of this democracy crisis in the world, not vice versa. We didn't work well, and we didn't design well for society and for people. Sometimes we design for power. Sometimes we design for the companies. They decided. Let me give you another example. So, who said the smartphone is better than the old ones? Who said? Now we believe that smartphones are the best. No, sure, but why it's better? Because some companies, because for example, Apple found a new idea, and the media and the money and everything was at the service of big companies, and everything were changed. If you remember, that was just it was just handy. This was a cell phone. It was the telephone that I could put in my pocket, not more. After a while, text message added. After a while, cameras added. So it was not the reason of the philosophy of this object. After a while, everything were needed. And I don't know, now the smartphones are computers in our pockets. They are the minimum thing that we do with the smartphones is calling, There are social networks, bunch of applications, etc., etc. Now this is something else, not just cell phone. That's just me. I don't know. I couldn't answer or not.
it's okay. I guess the circumstances changed, and that's why it became more a thing towards designers. But I can see a reason behind why it's the steps changed.
Just I talked about the letter, and it was we are the part of this problem. Why we have to do something else? as a designer, as a design community? And it was, you know, it was a good question. It was a, you know, I think that works. We think about it once again. We had the responsibility, talking about the design responsibility or social responsibility many years. But, you know, we needed a new shock. I think in last years this happened in texts, in, you know, in communities, in sessions, to talk about it. Okay, so what we had as a design, so it was enough for us, probably not. That couldn't answer to all of our problems or the problems we encounter. We need a new capacity from design. So how we can make this new capacity so we can take another look to the topic. We can redefine it, we can expand it. We can find design in the countries that they had nothing. The question is, we can find design in Afghanistan, we can find design in Kenya, why not? If you can find cinema, I don't know, all over the world, you can find design also. It was that.
Yeah, listening to what you just said, I'm wondering if like this social transformation or democratic transformation, this is really like possible in the real world, and not only in text, but also like really happening. And what because I think we will ever be dependent on people paying us, for example, as designers, and how do we change this system for our position?
Sure, we have a bunch of, you know, social design projects, and we have design activism phenomenon right now, and we could find many good projects in this area all over the world. And yeah, I think it's helpful, and we need it, this kind of design. I don't mean that we don't need to mass production or something. Of course, we need everything. But at the same time, we need this kind of independent design, with this kind of, this viewpoint, with this kind of, you know, this new idea. We need it as a human, as a people of 2023.
But how can we implement this new design ideas? Like, I read like it's a small islands in this capitalist system, you know, but it's still an exception. And how, like, can we as designers reshape the structures, because we are stuck in this economical structures, you know, but it's still only an exception. But we need like an equality of it. We need like mass phenomena of this new design, but it's not possible because of the economy. You know, like the potential is there. So how should we is it possible to overcome it somehow as a designer, and how?
So there are many examples. For example, as a designer, sometimes the design needs. So you need water. I can, as a designer, I can design your mind. I can try to help you that no, you do not. You don't need to water. You need cola. This design, it's ethical part of that. So, in which part of this area you want to stand as a designer? Okay, this is the first one. Second one, there are many great projects in this regard. In social design, you have many good projects. For example, if you can change the patterns, we are designers. We can intervene in and change patterns. We can criticize patterns. We are designers. Okay, if you can change patterns, for example, we can change fashion. Fashion industry say that Gucci is great. Gucci is great. I don't know. X is great. Z is great. Okay, but if we can find a new pattern, if we can present a new idea, we can actually gathering the second-hand clothes. We can redesign it again and brand it in a new branding project. We presented it again to the society. So you are a designer. That's a design project, and it are strongly continued that are very powerful, but you need to find new solutions.
Mm. Like, I don't think that people who work at Coca-Cola, like designers, are bad people. Like, they have the structures and they like doing their job, you know? Like, it's very difficult to change these patterns. Like, if it would be easy, we would like do it. But it's like, how do we do it? Like, do we need as designers maybe some sort of organization? Like, should we organize ourselves and build like a design interest and implement it in our work? Or like, how do you think the next steps should work? Like, do you understand me?
You mean if you
like you describe like design, like one designer and creating his idea, his job. Like this is like more like this job creativity, like designer as an individual. And maybe like, do you think designers need some sort of organization, like where designers have a platform and to discuss their ethical needs and interests, and maybe trying to like make a big collective?
So it's happening right now. So, but that's not your question. You said if we couldn't do this.
Do you think it's important? Like, how do we reshape the patterns? Like, as a designer, like it's not.
Got it. Yeah, that's not so easy. Of course, there are many ideas. There are many solutions for that. There are many ways. In different parts, you know, that depends on which field of design you're working. For example, I'm working in design theory, and my duty is finding new ideas in design. You are a fashion designer, you can make a team and working on second-hand clothes and come to the advertisement. Look, lifestyle has changed. And some concepts, we need some concepts, and some concepts are becoming as a mode. For example, there are many examples about the models, about the Minecraft models. I mean, they were now they are very normal because our mind has changed. Before that, the models were just white people, very skinny people. But now it's changed. Why? Because the society has changed. Because what we need is changed. And you can find these models, from different countries, from different colors, with different sizes. So it's happening. The patterns are changed. So designers are contributed to these ideas, I think. At the same time, you can, as a designer, give new ideas. You can go everywhere. You can go to politics, you can go to advertisement. We can design new products, and the society is changing. Vegetarian people now are very powerful community in each society. But 50 years ago, we didn't have something like this. This community needs its industry. This community needs its design. This community needs its patterns. Therefore, I think that everything can be changed, and designer can be part of this change. The mission of the design is actually its change. We can make this change. It's difficult, I know, but in different stages we can do this. You can, as a writer, as a junior designer, in a company with different experiences. Obviously, the money is not in this area first, but after a while, after 10 years, if the patterns of the society is changed, so the economy will be more on the paths that for now that are not so valuable. Then lifestyle change, the economy searching for new bazaars.
So we can become like ethical capitalists maybe when you're like going to build a startup as a designer, or what is your idea?
Let me explain something. I have no problem with getting money. I have no problem with that. But where you want to use this money and how you want to use that. This is the point. Okay? So we can pay a lot of money, for example, for Gucci, and at the same time we can pay a lot of money for second-hand clothes that are more sustainable. That I don't know. We can contribute many people's instead of charities. Many of the clothes we have are made right now in Eastern Asia, because that's not expensive. So, but we know the situation of the workers in those countries, the insurance problems of those people in those countries. So, if you start a new business, who can actually answer to meet the minimums, that's no problem that you have money. It's exactly that I try to explain as a new social network or state social network. Yeah.
But my question, is what is the democratic part of it? Because I try to understand the relation between design and democracy, and where do you put it, the democratic part when I build a startup and selling second-hand clothes as a designer,
The democratic happens when you contributed more people and more designer in a project, and then not gathering all the power at the certain time, the politicians or some special companies, big companies. So if we broke this frame, it's a kind of democratization. If we can contribute more users in the design process, it's a kind of democratization. So it's in different stages, it's in different areas.
It sounds like for me a bit neoliberal, when we minimize the role of the state and put it through build companies.
I'm not so interested in defining these ideas under the neoliberal or social democrat or social democrat or something. As a designer, I'm not a politician. As a designer, I want to find new ideas, new spaces, and we have to. Probably as a designer, it is an ethical point. I can design something for you that you like it, but probably that it's not good for you. Okay, I can design cigarettes for you, but cigarettes is not something good for you. Okay, you like it at the moment. Another idea, I can design something for you that you don't like it right now, but this is useful for you. That will be great for you. So which one's true?
But you decide what I'm going to desire,
Interesting. Yeah.
I want to tell you what I.
Okay. So this is an ethical role of the designer. I choose the project. Which project? But I'm thinking about now. We are thinking about the users. The psychology of the users. What users think. What users do. In different teams, in the digital area, customer experience, all of the experiences and user experiences, all of these fields. Okay, to know the user, to sell more to that.
The counterpart part was Trump being elected and Russia probably interfering via social media. And I think that those people who do design for Trump, they think it's the right thing to do, and it's a good thing to do for the world. So who decides what is good and what is bad?
Okay, this is a historical question. But what do you think? What do you think?
That's me giving back the question.
talking about good design, but Dieter Rams.
I think that everything that changes has always good and bad parts. Always does something for the better sake, and also changes things for the not so good sake or worsening sake. So and yes, as a designer, I have this responsibility. But still, if I'm a fan of Trump, my responsibility lies in his agenda, in his MAGA politics, and I think it's perfect. It's great.
Right, but let me bring you another example. For example, about the cell phone. So, some designers, Jonathan Ive or the team, designed a smartphone. So now, most of the people think that this is good for us. But the question is, it was good for us, or we could have something else completely different.
But I mean, you can also argue that it's really bad for us. It's the Rohstoffe, how you say, the resources you need for the phones are gathered in a really bad manner by getting people in Africa and where else under really bad circumstances. It's something that uses energy, and energy is right now a really big problem because of climate change. And it is produced in millions and millions of ways. It is really big waste because everyone needs a new phone each year, so then they throw it away. So it has a really lot of bad things. And it's not only great and perfect.
Right. I think designing for people, if you can answer to the people, if you discover the needs of people, right, this could be in the good part. You know, the history shows us that that's a good part. If you be more close to the people.
But what is the needs of the people? My need is that my children and my grandchildren want to live in a world without climate change.
Exactly. We have to define this. Some designers discover the needs. There is a need. We don't think that we need it, but we need it. Designers could discover it. Designer could change a need. And I think designer could make a need. Now we need smartphone, but 20 years ago we didn't need it. Designers are part of this game. And you know, this, as you said, nobody can say exactly this is good and this is bad, right? But I think we need to discuss it, and we need this discourse to emphasize more. And if you like something, that's not more important that if you actually something is good for you. Something can answer to your need, can work for you, I mean, can help in your life, can help to society.
What was the question?
I also wanted to refer to this discussion because maybe it should be an ongoing process, kind of, like as it is with the needs also, which are changing after a while. So now maybe it could be a solution, or you know, to also think back what are the bad sides of the smartphone usage and what can we change about that. Like nobody can know what are the outcomes when you decide for a design or when you put something to market. But I think that shouldn't stop us doing, like, we shouldn't do anything then. So I think that you cannot, it's always a question, what is the outcome exactly? And like as soon as we start noticing and observing which are the bad sides of it, we should start working on it again. So maybe this is the only way to deal with it.
Yeah, I had the same problem with socialist Maziar. first I have to explain the positive aspects of social networks, and then I try to analyze them. What aspects of social networks that harms people, users, and harms democracy. And then I think, just for instance, I think now, after more than 10 years of social networks in our life, now we can't eliminate social networks from our lives. Now we can't do this. So I think we have to analyze them and find those positive and negative points. And if the negative points are more heavier, we can redesign the social networks. We can redesign the concept. I know there are big companies such as Meta. Meta couldn't change the identity of Facebook or couldn't change the identity of Instagram. Just could add some features or eliminate some other features. But if a new social network should be designed, now it can be designed with considering all of these problems that it made. We know there are many good points also, but we need to design new social networks. Anyhow, we don't have problems.
Okay, thank you. I think it was a very interesting discussion, and maybe we will